Hey there, friends. Welcome back to today's show. I'm so excited to really dive in and share this conversation with both the warm and brilliant Dr. Sarica Cernohous. Sarica has over 20 years of experience as an acupuncturist and practitioner of traditional Chinese medicine. She's also the author of The Funky Kitchen, a practical guide to using traditional food preparation techniques to really increase the bioavailability of nutrients. Sarica is also my friend and therapist. In today's conversation, we explore what it really means to live in alignment with your body's unique rhythm and preferences, actually. We'll also uncover how food can be used as medicine, practical steps to decreasing our toxic overload, and what it means to truly prioritize our wellness in today's overstimulated world. So if you find yourself maybe feeling confused by all that health advice out there, or simply just ready to reconnect to your intuition, this episode is going to remind you that healing begins with an awareness. And I'm going to help give you this straightforward advice that you can implement right now to increase your physical, mental, and spiritual health. So take a deep breath with me and settle in, because we're going to talk a lot today with Dr. Sarica Cernohous. Well, welcome, Sarica, to the podcast. And it's always a pleasure just to finally have a moment to pause, to sit. And I'm always, anytime I'm in a chair on the receiving side of a conversation with you, I'm like, okay, put on your hat. It's time to learn and listen. There's so much here. She's opening her mouth. Everybody listen. So to our guest today, I want to say you're in for a treat. And I'm so thankful.
Thank you, Kelsey,
that you are here.
Thank you.
And you are just a wealth of wisdom, but also just a nurturing, loving, just amazing woman that embodies so much of just, I think, any woman's desire to become an amazing human. Well, you embody that. So thank you.
Thank you, Kelsey. And that means a lot coming from you because I watch you do the same.
Oh, well, thank you.
Thank you.
You're so kind to say that. I know you watched me run around with my head with a chicken with a head cut off, and you're like, now, Kelsey, there's got to be a better way to do this. Have you eaten well today? Yeah, no. I hear you in my mind all the time, and so I'm so thankful for you. To our guest that is listening today, it can feel like there's so much information. Yes. We are drowning information and lacking for knowledge.
I know.
For our listener today who might feel overwhelmed by her own health and there's so much controversy. You hear on one and this is good and the next, and we know that.
Right.
But I know you've been through of all the ups and downs and the trends, and you've seen a lot and you've studied a lot. You also have your own personal story, which is always probably the most powerful and the most that we come back to. But what can you tell our listener right now as she's listening? What can she expect or he expect to walk away with in this knowledge that they can apply to their life? Just a general.
Yep. I'm thinking easy structure is part of it. I think that is where people get tripped up, is where to begin and what to do with a day. What do I do with a given day relative to how I look after myself, most notably with diet, right? Mm-hmm. I mean, that's, to me, that's the thing that we do every day is eat. And so it is so impactful. And certainly over the years, people have recognized that when it comes to maintaining a healthy body weight, which I think is cornerstone to feeling well and showing up well in life, in these instances, it's actually what we eat, and also what I've come to understand over the years is how we eat. That is more impactful than even how we move. Although how we move is a really big part of it too.
Yeah.
And so to me, it's basic structure is really what I want people to feel like they've got in their toolkit.
Okay. Yeah. So with that said, today, because we're going to go through so many tools.
Okay.
And that's why I know that, because like we're going to dive in and you're going to pull out this tool and this tool and this tool. And I know that about you. So like, we don't want to have like the fire hose effect, but knowing and empowering a listener that you're going to walk away and feel empowered, that you're going to have some structure to start to implement into how you eat and how you live well.
That's right. Yes.
All right. Awesome. Okay. So Dr. Sarica Cernohous, you have so many tools, as we've said, but also just experiences and practices. Can you define for us and for our listener really what natural medicine is?
Oh, that's such a good question, right?
Yeah.
Oh my gosh, such a good question. To me, natural medicine is something that leans on what comes native to us, what is natural to us, something that has often been around a long time, and something that enhances and improves upon natural actions. And I give that as a little bit of a disclaimer, because I feel that we have so many inputs that we are receiving as humans in this day and age that are pushing the human body and mind and spirit in a way that sometimes leaning on just what worked maybe 25, 30 years ago is maybe not what we need straight out the gate or at different times in our healing journey. And there are new technologies and supports that benefit the natural expression of what it is to be a person, that were not available, 2,500 years ago. I'm an acupuncturist. That's where my doctorate is in acupuncture and Chinese medicine. And within that, that has leaned on diet, on behaviors, on herbal medicine, certainly on acupuncture and other body therapies. So in that compendium, you're not going to also be talking about some of the technologies that are available to us, at least in the format that we have them now, in possibly a more refined and more pointed format. I'm thinking in terms of like being able to study and work with epigenetics or bioenergetics, which are two technologies that I brought into my practice and that I love using with people. But it's a different packaging than maybe the practitioners of 2,000 or 2,500 years ago would have worked with, but we're coming to a similar endpoint relative to what their tools may have been and where ours are now. And so it is what supports the natural and oftentimes leans on natural, but we live in a time now where we can also lean on some technology. And I think that's using the tool of technology for our benefit. And that to me is so powerful.
So for somebody who's listening who wants to take, quote, an alternative path towards health and healing, in the sense that not leaning into maybe Western mindset of medicine, what I hear you saying is bringing in the ancient wisdom of Chinese medicine with the current technology of what we know in the brain of epigenetics, which I want to go into here next. But in finding where that synergy of knowledge really meets the person in the 20th century, 21st century here to what we're doing with our body.
That's right.
And taking the experience of the past with the present need.
Yes.
Is it fair to say that the bodies of today, though, are facing unknown territory in the terms of what we're seeing, the toxic overloads of just the exposure that we see, that probably, I would say, maybe our bodies have never seen this, and people are feeling the effect. Like, I know you probably hear more than I do, but I hear enough to know that people feel their minds are like altered, their body, like, what's going on with me? Like, where is this coming in? It's like it's finally seeping its way through the body, what we're being exposed to.
Right. Yeah, and it is. It's and those are, it's very challenging because there are also things that we maybe don't see, touch, taste that are having an influence upon us. One of the things that shows up in the epigenetic scans that I will do with patients, I tell people, hey, using this epigenetic scan, I am able to, or we are able to get information that if I did $20,000 worth of standard labs on you, we still couldn't get what I can get from this simple hair scan.
Mm-hmm.
And one of the things that shows up that way is the epigenetic information relative to different waveforms. And waveforms are something that we don't see or taste. Some people feel them. Some people are very energy sensitive. They can feel them, so some people can feel them, but most people don't. But the influence is there. We are frequency beings before we are matter beings. And that is also really reaching back to the wisdom of traditional Chinese medicine, Ayurvedic medicine, where we are looking at how it is that we work with the frequency, our minds, how we work with the frequency, right? This is so important. And so and epigenetics, I think we should explain what epigenetics is, which is just the influence of lifestyle inputs, whether we choose them or not, and how that causes our genetic expression to come forth. Genetically, I have blue eyes. Like, that's not going to change. However, I maybe have a tendency toward thromboembolism based upon any triggers that may come into my field that cause me to engage what that genetic tendency is. And so what I want to do is in my life relative to my activity, my relationships, the food I eat, the waveforms I can control that I come into contact with, all of these types of things, that is the epigenetic influence upon those genetic tendencies that can be turned on or off.
So what I love about the study of epigenetics is that it's like changing the languaging and understanding that, okay, because my grandma and my mom and my sister had breast cancer, and maybe I have the gene or the genetic disposition towards it, I can influence the change.
Right.
I don't have to have the genetic imprint.
Exactly.
It can be a blueprint, but it doesn't have to be your reality. So you come in and really help walk that person through these lifestyle changes that can change the epigenetics.
Yes. And I think that's so helpful and powerful. And again, I think we need to frame it also that sometimes we think we are doing the very best that we can, and things still come up, and, things still turn out a different way, right?
Yeah.
And that is also where we get into the mind and what it is that has been in our history, how we relate to different events, and whether they really create, a trauma reaction within the brain, and how that can manifest into our physical expression. And so so say that's the case. The other more external choices around diet and, getting good sleep and things like that, that's only going to be a benefit. It's only going to be a benefit. However, what I say to people a lot is how important it is that if there's something that has gone on, that they really feel that internal, like, wherever it may hit you, heart, shoulders, whatever, when you feel that happening, you need to immediately remind yourself that you're safe and begin to bring yourself out of that stress state so that you do not trigger something that will have a physical expression later. And so it is very, very important that we watch our minds and how we relate to other people, to situations, And quite honestly, now in my 50s, I recognize how important it is for me to just create a harmonious space that I live in, socially, physically. And I encourage people to do this. This is something that really needs to be um, an important consideration in all that you do, with relationships, everything, work you do, all of that. Because just as, we kind of started this portion of our talk, we have so many, insults that are upon us. And so the things that we have a degree of control over, engage that.
Yeah, we need to control it.
Yeah.
To the best of our possibility.
That's right.
So what kind of treatments or protocols would you use with, say, for example, somebody like that you're seeing in that situation? Like, I'm thinking as you're talking, okay, somebody has a traumatic event. They're like, okay, I know I'm dysregulated. How can I regulate myself? Then they come into you and they're like, okay, this week was I had a really traumatic event. I could really feel it in my body. And then you take their pulse and then you're like, yeah. Because I've walked into your office and you're like, okay. And you're like, wait. And so you can tell me the week I had. And so, but for somebody that is like, I just really want help with this. Like, there's so many people that are looking for real help, but it just feels so overwhelming. Like, where do I start? What I hear you saying is, for one, watch your thoughts, right?
Yes.
Control your environment, those things. But then they come in and they get a treatment from you. They're feeling zenned out. And then what kind of tools are these supplements? Like, I know you have so many things. So I'm kind of like, I know there's so many things that you could pull in. But what kind of things can people really just feel like they can start to shift?
Yes.
And I know it's important to work with an individual, and I'm trying to throw out just Mary Jo coming off the street. But
yeah, I know. And that's right. Because we're all different. That is absolutely, that's what needs to be taken into consideration.
Yeah.
And I think one of the simplest things we can do is to adult ourselves and to put parameters around our behavior of guarding our sleep in preparation for sleep, our behavior around toxic people that are in our lives and reducing our exposure to them. And when we do have those exposures, recognizing that oftentimes so much of that is because of that person's issues and not taking ownership.
Totally.
Which is to be responsible for our own selves. I'm not saying carte blanche, don't do that at all. However, let that be theirs and let yours be yours.
Yeah.
Adulting ourselves when it comes to food choices, stimulants and depressants, even, the programs that we watch, they're called programs for a reason.
That's good.
Yeah. And it's true. What we listen to, the scrolling that we do or don't do, getting outside, getting direct sunlight on your body. One of the things that, again, research now is finding is how important it is for our brains and just our entire being for us to have direct sunlight on us. You've heard me say it many times over the years. We're creatures of the solar system. And we are designed to engage with the sun. And it truly is a battery recharge. When I was in my early 20s and not taking care of myself, the one thing that I had the good God-given sense to do was to go lay in the sun. It was, honestly, I think it saved me a couple times. It is a battery recharge. And so you go out and you do that too. You lean on this beautiful planet that we are so blessed to live upon and let it help to nurture you.
Yeah.
And that is a tough thing if somebody is living in the midst of a city in, a 14, story building. They don't have a yard to walk around in, these sorts of things. But you go and you get, even if you're sitting on your patio and just letting that direct sunlight be on you, that's huge. Have plants in your space. Things that are living and real and reducing blue light exposure. That is huge. And again, that is something that is really out there now, is how challenging that is for us. And those backlit blue light, computers, iPads, phones, all of this, that is not good for us. Yeah, so limiting your exposure there. So, it's adulting. And, these are some of the ways that we do that. And then, yes, if you are able to get in with a practitioner whom you trust, who can help to support your body, that can be so, so helpful. So that because some people don't even know what it feels like to be in a relaxed parasympathetic state. They don't know what that feels like. And I remember a number of years ago, a patient that came in, about once every 2 weeks or whatever. And she would come in and it was high stress tone, and she'd leave and she was so calm and happy. And she told me after a number of months of working together, she said, "Oh, Sarica, I figured out how to make myself feel the way I feel at the end of your treatments." She said, "I go out in my car and I turn on the seat heater." And I said, "Whatever it takes." You do that. But she wouldn't have she'd turn on her seat heater plenty of times before we had this engagement of like, okay, this is what it feels like to feel good. And then she was able to recognize, oh, I know what that feeling is. And I can do this for myself. So sometimes we actually need someone who can help us to even figure out what that is.
Yeah. And I love what you're saying, because I think, and I've talked about this a little bit before with other guests, but what we're seeing is that people are getting, for one, with the blue light, so addicted to their screens, but also so addicted and dependent on these apps or these rings or these things to tell them how they feel. And the ultimate result of that is that we are moving away from what is ultimately the goal,
right?
Is to know how you feel.
That's right.
Like, the whole goal of this is to tune in.
Yes.
Not to tune out.
That's right.
But what we're seeing is people are actually becoming more tuned out in how they feel and more dependent on a watch or a ring to say, oh, I got enough sleep, so I should be feeling fine, or I didn't. And like, it's just like they go back and forth, and it's like, oh dear God, like, please, like, do we need another voice to tell us you're not good or you're not good? But but it's different having like somebody like you, like somebody that like can see the whole picture of your health and can ask those questions and can also give like real personal feedback of, okay, I'm seeing this in your pulse, or I'm seeing this in your eyes, or this on your tongue, or this in your body posture. Something's not well. Let's ask your body. Let's ask your body.
Yes.
What does it feel like to feel good?
That's right.
And like, and really developing, I think that's my ultimate desire, as I'm sure yours even much more so with what people you're working with, of like developing this, like, how does this feel?
Right.
Where does this feel? Like, how does it feel to feel good?
Yes. And it's such a good thing. And when you have someone you're working with who knows you, who has kind of a baseline about you, right? And they care about you.
Yeah.
And they're going to be honest with you, and which doesn't mean they need to be harsh with you, but we can have conversations that are honest, that are not hard.
Right.
On a person, right?
Oh.
And that to me is such an important thing, and so important. And to your point about these gadgets, that, it reminds me of a story of another healthcare practitioner that I knew many years ago. And she was one of the early adopters with Tesla. She'd gotten a Tesla and she thought it was just awesome. And I'm not picking on Teslas. But what I do want to say is that she lived in a remote area, and she was driving in the car and she needed to get to a charging station. And those were, this was probably 8 or 9 years ago. So there were fewer and farther between than they are now. And the Tesla told her to go to like a completely remote area where there was no charging station. And her lack of awareness about what was happening and just trusting what the machine was telling her. The next day, she said, I'm selling it. I want nothing to do with this vehicle. I mean, if I were not in better condition, maybe my phone had died or something, this could have been the end of me. I mean, these are the things that happen. And that's an extreme, but I see so much overlap with what you just shared, because there is an ideal. I've seen this in lab work on people. I mean, we see it, relative to blood pressure and how guidelines on blood pressure have changed over the years, how guidelines on cholesterol have changed over the years. And we have to consider each person. And the information that is being fed into the algorithm for these gadgets is for a standard.
Totally.
But we're human. And dependent on what is going on in our lives, what our baseline constitution is, female, where we are in our cycles, there are so many ways that the body adapts to what's appropriate for the situation, but maybe doesn't match what is ideal according to the algorithm.
Yeah. And thus we see the problem with AI in the sense of developing all of these, because it's it's so standardized.
It is.
And it's let's get away from this standard American sad diet that we know is not serving us either. Which, yeah,
it's a wonder we made it this far.
I know. How are we still alive? But by the grace of God and each other, and the gift of laughter, and the gift of just sometimes too, just I think the intuition, going back to the ancient, I think in our internal honing, it's when we are real with ourselves, we kind of know, I'm going to get rid of this car. She knew that didn't serve her, whatever. Right. There's plenty of people happy.
Yeah.
But for her, she knew that this was not. And it's and that's what I try and always coach my clients on, but this needs to be for you.
Yes.
This is for you. Yes. What movement serves your body?
That's right.
And so it's kind of there's so many layers of this, but we're going to take a little side note on this, on the funky kitchen.
Oh, sure.
We're just going to jump right into the funky kitchen. Okay. So you wrote a book called The Funky Kitchen.
Yeah.
And I love it because you're so fun. And I remember, so we met 20 plus years ago in another little small remote town. And we had a mutual friend that's you two need to meet. And so we met, and then then we followed each other back to Flagstaff, and we found our ways back to each other.
Amazing.
It's beautiful, but so many different layers of watching you and you watching me in our kind of evolving careers and passions. But one of your passions is cooking, because it nourishes not just the mind and the body, but the soul. Yeah. And I love that you wrote The Funky Kitchen, because I remember opening the book and being and oh my gosh, I don't know how to do this.
Right. And that's usually why I wrote the book, because there was information at the time. So it's about traditional food preparation methods. It's, and it's taking out anti-nutrients, making foods more bioavailable to the body is what we're doing with these techniques.
Say that again.
Okay. It's taking out, anti-nutrients, anti-nutrients. So one of those is gluten. Gluten's a very tenacious protein structure. I remember studying it, and really at its core, gluten is kind of like when you drop a hair into a soup that's going into an Instant Pot. Oh. It stays. It's such a tenacious structure, right?
Just like that analogy.
Hair. Yeah, I mean, it's tenacious. So, and yet, there's, see, one of the things that we've done is we've bastardized certain things. Oh, gluten is so bad, without considering what are the other things that are happening in a sourdough process that maybe are setting up so we can handle that bit of remaining gluten better, right? In a true souring process. Those are the things that we need to consider. That, quite honestly, Kelsey, there's no money behind the research for this. And so it becomes an empirical study. How do you feel when you eat this? And we've all heard it. Oh, I can't do gluten here in the States, but when I go to Europe, I can eat pasta and I can eat, whatever, right? You do fine. And so then you have to say, was it the gluten or was it other things around the gluten that are more of the issue? And again, just as you were saying, that's where it goes to the individual. And where we are in different seasons of our lives. That's a huge thing. Again, one of the really terrific things about working with the epigenetic scanning is that we can see when we do a report for somebody, oh, right now, epigenetically, it's going to serve you well to not eat cod. Cod could be one of the cod's not an unhealthy protein, but for that person, for this period of time in their life, epigenetically, it will probably take more from them than it will give them. And so let's just take a little pause and be honest with yourself if and when you elect to bring it back in. Let's just give it some time, 2 months or so, take it out. Let's see. And then be honest with yourself. Do you feel energized when you eat it, or did you get a little bloated? Did your head get kind of funky? This sort of thing. So I do love that. But getting back also to the funky kitchen and this traditional food thing, another thing that people talk about a lot are lectins. And that's like Dr. Stephen Gundry. He's all about, the lectin reduction diet and this sort of thing. Tannins are some things that some people have problems with. There are different components of different foods that can be challenging for people. And when I wrote that book, I first wrote the book in 2012. And then I did a slight revision in 2014. And at that time, coming out of my own healing journey, I recognized how threadbare I was. And it was looking at, and I remember you and I, back when we lived in that little small town, we talked about a book called The Maker's Diet. And, yep. And Jordan Rubin's book. And that was what really introduced me to this idea of eating the way more that our ancestors did, because it was based upon biblical tenets around nutrition. And that helped a lot. I thought, okay, now this is kind of starting to make a degree of sense. And I should say at that time, I was already an acupuncturist. I had the 4+ years of education, in, diet, physiology, anatomy, and then, of course, all the Chinese medicine curriculum. But I still was at a loss, And so to have finally come into the Maker's Diet, it was like, okay, here's a foundational. And I think that's a great starting place for people still. I think it's a great book to help people understand what are real foods. And it has diet, like recipes, things like that. So that's a good thing. But it was I still was needing more help because I had really damaged myself through diet and lifestyle as a teenager and in my 20s. And to then recognize, whoa, okay, if we do some of these things, which I recognized were called, I started calling them pre-digestion techniques, which is where we do things like soaking grains and soaking nuts and seeds and beans, taking, a chicken and cooking it and then getting the broth from that, where you're getting the composition of what's in that chicken, but it's easier for you to put to use. And there's going to be more there than if you just have a chicken breast in terms of fatty acids and amino acids and different vitamins. So I recognize that, wow, if we do some of these techniques that our ancestors did with the types of foods that they ate, we are doing something that kind of takes the work of our digestive process and does a lot of it, which is very important if we internally don't quite have the fire to do that. And so that was really the genesis of it. And to this day, I mean, right before I came over, I had some soaked and dehydrated almonds.
Of course you did. No, but I love it because I remember that was one of the things, there's so many methods. And as far as the funky kitchen, which I highly recommend for anybody, but I remember thinking and looking at it and being like, oh, well, I'm not so sure I could do the kefir grains and watch my kefir grow or my sourdough starter just because, but just because you can't do all of them doesn't mean you can't do one of them.
Exactly.
But one of the things that you did was the soaking beans. And I mean, I started doing that whatever, 10 years ago.
Right.
And we always have beans soaking or sprouting or cooking. Our kids always know there's beans that are accessible.
Yes.
Because it's just a quick protein. They can just eat beans. They could put them on tortilla, whatever. But the gas, that breaking down the cellular wall. I always say that gas you smell would be your gas if it's not that gas. But it's so important because it is so beautiful. I love watching those little sprouts grow out of the bean. It's just bringing back to life.
Yes.
But no matter where you are, it doesn't have to be complicated. Let's go back to how we first started.
Yeah.
Just giving somebody some structure. If you walk away today and you start sprouting your beans, that's a change. We're looking for just a shift, just a change.
Just a little.
That you can start to feel you're empowered, you're taking control of your health.
Yes.
And you don't feel like you have to be underneath the big man.
That's right.
And coming back to just simplifying.
Yes. That's really it. I would say the good place to start for people who are really new to looking at their diet and considering that. So you're just at a standard grocery store, not at even a natural food store.
Okay.
Most of us have heard you shop the perimeter of the store because in the perimeter of the store, that is where you're going to be, for the most part, staying away from processed foods. That's where you're going to be getting your bulk beans. You're going to be getting your dairy, your eggs, your produce. You're going to be getting the meats. So that's a good place to start. It's a good place to start. And then say you've been at it for a while and you are ready to make it better. Better is leaning on some of the products that are now available that weren't available when I wrote The Funky Kitchen.
Give us an example.
Industry caught on. True sourdough is available to buy at a natural food store now, as opposed to something that has had some acetic acid or, some type of souring agent just added to flour to make it taste sour. The souring process that happens through fermentation, true sourdough, is something that totally changes what that wheat flour is. Totally changes chemistry, pH of it, all of it. And so there are, and they're not going to be made with any preservatives. And so they're generally sold in a refrigerated or frozen state. But even the souring process helps things to last longer. So you can go, and again, I still like shopping the perimeter of the store, even when I'm at a natural food store, because how much junk have we seen? Oreos that are organic. I mean, stop it. Just don't. So, still shopping the perimeter of the store where you're going to get your pasture raised eggs. You're going to get your whole fat, organic, grass fed yogurt. If you want to get it a little bit sweetened, you can do so. But my preference is people go ahead and get it plain, and then they can add just maybe a little bit of maple syrup to it to sweeten it up, a little bit of vanilla extract, that sort of thing. Or just add some berries or blend in a banana, something like that. You're going to be getting those higher quality breads that are frozen, that are true sourdough. Those are the types of things that I would recommend for that next level. And then, yes, if a person says, okay, I'm ready to make my own whatever, that's where, and again, this is the difference now compared to how it was back then. I mean, back when I did that, it was really a lot of books and not much online. And now there's a ton online.
Right.
I mean, there's so much online now that people can just get free guidance on how to do, make your own sourdough. And, or the thing I started with back when we lived in that little town was I got goat milk from all places, Walmart, because we didn't have much shopping in that town. And I needed goat milk. Yeah. And so, for real. And so I made yogurt. And I remember that first night, oh my Oh, goodness. My kids were little, and it was so scary to me to take milk and add a little bit. It was a starter package of yogurt cultures, and so a little powder to it, and put it into a glass jar, and then put it in an incubator. And I'm like, who takes milk and puts it into something warm and leaves it out for 8 hours, and then the next gets it to the kids? It's like, who does that?
Well, you taught me to, so I did it.
What kind of mothers are we?
My kids still, they're like, we had like homemade yogurt for years. Not only was it economical, like
Yes.
we had so many kids and no money, but like they always are. At the time, they're like, we just wanted to be the kids that can go to school and have Doritos or something.
No.
But they're like, Mom, we always thought when we would grow up, we would eat all the things that we, quote, didn't have.
Right.
But like, as you know, my kids, they're even more extreme than I was.
They look incredible.
And they love the fact that like we made our yogurt all the time. I remember that white container, and we made yogurt like every day, because like you have like 5 kids running around and you're giving them homemade yogurt. They're like, I'm so good. Like, yeah. And making bread. I mean, my kids have you to thank, really, for their like genetic, like, so much of that infrastructure of like their genetic makeup.
It's wonderful.
I mean, it was so
hard for them because they are sturdy people.
Yeah.
They really are. They're beautiful. Your family's beautiful.
Oh, thank you.
Yes, they really are incredible. And, and these things are hard. I mean, we have these talks with our kids and, oh my gosh, so many fits. And, I just want to have X, Y, or Z. Why do we have to be so weird? Why do we want to do this?
Yeah, believe.
And yet, my father-in-law was just visiting from Wisconsin, and, he spoke to both my kids recently, and he said, how was that? Now that you're more on your own.
Yeah.
And they said, well, the one thing is we're really grateful that Mom showed us how to eat. And that's so good. And so I'm grateful for that. And I will say, now that my daughter's in college, my son's out of the country right now, but now that my daughter's in college, she actually eats better now that she's on her own, because it was the last of that I don't want to eat at home because Mom made it thing. But now, music to my ears. This semester, she said, I just want a home-cooked meal.
Yes.
So it's good.
I know. This last week, Garrett, he came home because we were both kind of under the weather, and he came home and he was just eating the soup, and he's like, it just feels so good. Like, they just love to come home and just have like, that broth, and they know that we always have soup and beans in the fridge. Like, it's just like
such a good
kind of a standard staple.
And, people are, people think, oh, this needs to be so expensive. No, this. And it, just as you said, you were doing it because you guys were tight cash flow. And a lot of people are. And it's getting away from those processed foods. Not only will it benefit your health, but it will benefit your pocketbook. And one of the best foods, and again, we're making carte blanche statements here, but I will say, people eating beans is like a superfood. For most people, I don't want to say across the board, there can always be instances, but really, talk about inexpensive and the best nutrition for your gut microbiome, which is where our neurotransmitters are made.
Mm-hmm.
I mean, like, this is huge. Huge. Beans. So I'm so glad you guys are sticking with.
Yeah. I was just listening to a podcast with Dr. Dawn Musselman. I think she's actually out of Phoenix in the Mayo Clinic, cancer research doctor, and like her top 5. But she was saying beans and how important it is for like that protein. Like you know me, like I can't do meat very well. And my husband doesn't even have the enzymes to break down protein. And it's as bad as this man was to eat meat and kills all the meat we could eat forever. It's like we finally found somebody who's like, I just need to find a hunter that has a lot of harvest but doesn't like to eat the harvest. I'm like, that's us. You could go raid our 5 freezers out there. There's a bear, there's a deer, there's an elk, there's everything in there. But like, we're both to the point where we can't handle the high protein, the acidic, all those things. So the beans are like life-saving. Like, I always have a stock of beans, but like the process of it is so quote, I hate to use the word cheap. It's so valuable.
Yeah.
And because people are like, I don't have enough money to eat healthy. I'm like, you can't even put a price on your health. Like,
No.
like that's another whole language.
It is.
Conversation. Like, yeah. Anyways. So, but beans are like a staple food. Like going back to ancient wisdom of food, every culture has beans. They grow beans. They're easy to grow. You soak them, and you get all this bioavailability.
Oh my gosh, they're fabulous.
It's amazing.
It is absolutely amazing. And then you pair them up with a grain or just throw a broth. Exactly. It could be veg broth. It could, I mean, because sometimes, just as you say, people can't even handle animal protein or they choose not to, right? Whatever the situation may be. Beans are something that usually should show up for most people. They should be a part of it.
Yeah.
Yes.
That's good. So let's kind of turn another page of like looking at toxins, because you're so good at the holistic health picture of the body. And we kind of briefly touched on it. Just, I think there's like 78,000 toxic exposures that we have that we don't even, like what you said, like see, taste, feel, hear, know.
Right.
But it's happening. Our body knows it.
Oh, yeah.
But we're not like in our conscious awareness until we're conscious of a diagnosis.
That's right.
How can the everyday toxic overload build up on somebody, and what can they do? I know you've talked about blue light, but maybe there's something else. Like, what else have you seen?
We're all different. And what I have seen is that people seem to be really quite challenged in how it is that they are clearing these things. And you see it in puffiness, in an inability to lose weight, in brain fog. These are all significant of some degree of stagnation. And we, in Chinese medicine, I tell you, we really focus on, the different qualities, even the emotional qualities in different organs in the body. But the liver is tops. The heart is the emperor of the emotions. And this is such a precious, important part of us. It is so good. And we have to look after it. But our liver really, really works hard, especially these days. And so you have to think, okay, how can I support that liver in the work it's doing, relative to everything? And I know this is going to maybe sound like an awkward thing to say right now, but meal spacing is a big part of that.
Meal spacing.
I'm always thinking in visual terms. And the lymphatics of our body, the blood flow also of our body, we can think of it like canals off of a river. And when we are constantly throwing stuff into the river, it's going to start going out into the canals and clogging, and the pipes are and we're not going to get water to the fields. And so this is getting into the adulting that I was talking about. Starting with how you space your meals. That's super, super, super important. Because what you do when you do that is you stop throwing things into the river. You give the river an opportunity to flow, and it catches some of that debris that has been stuck and, getting there. And it gets things moving, because you're not adding additional noise. That's incredibly important. We are really like that. And so when I say meal spacing, I'm talking you nourish yourself with a meal, and then you don't eat anymore. You don't have anything else to drink other than water. No black coffee, no herbal tea. It's just water between meals. And allow yourself to go about 5 hours with just water. And then nourish yourself again. And when I say nourish yourself, I'm not talking about having, rice crackers and carrot sticks because you're trying to lose weight. You have to really nourish yourself when you eat, so that your blood sugar stays stabilized as you move through that 5-hour period. And that confusion that we opened the discussion with of like, oh my gosh, I don't know what to do. This is part of that structure that is so, so integral to getting a handle on yourself
Mm-hmm.
and really allowing your body to begin healing and have a true reserve of energy and clarity that you have to work with.
Mm-hmm.
And when it comes to toxicity and the things that we do have control over and the things that we don't, wherever we can make these changes, they're going to benefit us because these exposures are out there.
Mm-hmm.
There are cell towers everywhere.
Yeah.
You go into any building, it's Wi-Fi all over the place. I just feel for the kids and all the Wi-Fi they're exposed to and all those iPads and the phones in the rooms, all of it. And then big 4G and 5G towers off the playing fields. It's insane. It is insane. They're all under LED lights, which are microwaves. So, these are toxic daily exposures that are not humane. This is not something that was part of anything, right? So what we can do is what we can do.
Mm-hmm.
And spacing of diet is one thing that is going to just begin to lift that pressure a bit.
Yeah.
It's going to help us to be better, to handle those toxic exposures. And so, yeah, that's all waveform talk right there, right? But oh my gosh, I will never forget the scent of what it is to have been in my son's high school or my daughter's high school.
I know.
They have a smell about them, and it's not organic. It is a chemical smell. And so there are these exposures of floor polishes and cleaning agents and all of this that,
it's heartbreaking. It's hard. And sometimes it's just like, oh, I don't want to know because like you feel so responsible.
I know what you know for what you know.
And so I know there's so much to this. And that's the beauty. I felt like and that my kids are so thankful for too, in so many realms of like keeping them at home. And I know that's not a possibility for everybody, but if it is a possibility, I highly encourage it.
That's right.
This is kind of like what you're saving them from.
Yes.
There's so many different layers, but let's get back to what you brought into the conversation around the metabolism, because let's say the woman that's listening, the man that's listening, regardless, just hitting this hormonal shift.
Yeah.
Right. The inevitable, when you go to college, it's the freshman 15, right? It's the 40, like whatever, you know what I mean? Like where people feel like, oh, like they think that an age means a weight.
Right.
It doesn't.
No, it doesn't.
You and I both know that.
That's right.
But I've watched as I sent clients that have struggled with their weight to you, and it seems like almost so simple, like it should be more, but you really play with the metabolism. Yeah. And you actually flip that little monster on its head, because so many of the languaging around metabolism is that you need a snack, you need to keep your metabolism going. Whereas what you've really seen and what really actually works for your metabolism, for your hormones, for weight, is these nourishing grounding meals.
Yes.
No snacking.
No snacking.
And I watch people eat more than they've ever eaten.
Correct.
They feel like I have to eat more than I'm used to.
That's right.
And it totally then takes off this calorie counting Weight Watcher idea.
That's right.
And then it restores health.
Yes.
Which, let's get back to the basics.
Yes.
Let's get back to informing people that diet is about health. It's about healing the body.
That's right.
Not a weight.
No.
Not a trend.
No.
Not a no fat. I remember even when we first met, I think that at that time it was no fat. Everything was right. We'll stab the food away.
Mm-hmm.
And now we're finally coming back to no, you need good fat.
That's right.
And there is good fat.
That's right.
And you want that good fat.
Yes.
And then when you really feed your body at these nourishing times, you don't need a snack. And in fact, if you eat snack, that's what causes the bloating.
It does.
That's what causes the mental fatigue.
That's right.
I tested you on this, and I was like, I'm going to see if she's real. She's right. Because I'm always testing.
It's good, Kelsey. I'm glad you did.
No, but to your point,
yeah,
what you're saying is right on. Because if I snack on something, I'm like, all of a sudden my brain, all these things like feel like, oh, does this mean like we're in a digest mode, or does this mean like we're in a think mode?
That's right.
Because as soon as you put food in, all your systems change.
Yes.
They are now thinking about like, my job is to digest, and like, yeah, and then your liver goes to work to filter and all those things. And then you're feeling this brain fog. Yeah. Well, actually, it's because all your faculties about you went to work to digest that food. But then they're like, wait, give us more. We're still ready. We're still going. And then you stop it. And then they're like, but we've released all these enzymes. Right. And then they don't know what to do. And then they just sit there, and then you're like getting more bloated. Yes. And you're like, wait, I don't have time to eat. I was just planning on just eating a little snack. And that little snack has now done you dirty.
It surely has.
It surely has done you not good.
Not good. And that's exactly it. I mean, yeah. So to your point, kind of like when I learned about the Maker's Diet when I was already, this natural healthcare practitioner, I'm like, oh my gosh, this is amazing,
Yeah.
Similarly, when I hit 40, here it is. I had been eating, Maker's Diet kind of way.
Right.
And whole food. Yep. All of that. And then I started putting on more middle weight. And and then I just felt like any other woman in her early 40s who is like, I don't know what to do here, which is amazing because again, I'm the expert would know, but you don't know till you know. And
that's right.
That's it. And what it is my metabolism in my 30s, it was correct enough to be able to handle eating irregularly. Enough. I say enough because
it still didn't love it.
It did not love it because I was hypoglycemic, like really hypoglycemic. And I would have to snack, which really, in this instance, it's a lot like giving candy to a 2-year-old who needs a nap. You're not doing any favors. No, not doing any favors. And so what you need to do is at the next meal, you got to feed that little one really well and help them to get their blood sugar stabilized. We're no different. And so in my early 40s, I was at a nutrition conference, and I came upon this organization called Metabolic Balance of Germany. And I ended up doing the training with them, and I fell in love with it. And after a month of working with my plan, I had gone from that middle weight gain to totally gone. Within a month, that was gone. But in a week's time, my blood sugar was stabilized. And that was incredible. I was a person who ran around with snack bars in her bag, And so, and that was really, and I can't even begin to express how good it was to begin to feel just greater stability in my energy.
Yeah.
All day long, not these peaks and lows. And, like I'm up, I'm awake. And my day is like that. And at nighttime, I get tired. It all made sense.
Yeah.
For the first time, like ever. And I mean that. It was really amazing. And so this structure that I'm talking about is part of this. And it's nourishing 5 to 7 hours of just water, nourishing 5 to 7 hours of just water, nourishing one more time. And then that's it. That's your day. That's your day.
Well, you're coming back to like what we started, giving structure. And there's the ancient wisdom of like up with the sun, down with the sun, and like in the healing time. And like the meal was to like nourish and take a break from being out in the fields and like, and then go back and then eat really well and go to sleep. Like, like the framework is there. It's just like we try and we think we're outwitting it. Like we're improving on it when actually no. Like, it is, it's not serving us.
It doesn't.
Yeah,
it doesn't. And, the whole concept of snacking really got underway in the United States, really, really got underway in the 70s. It's just a new thing. And I mean, if you go back, a couple of 100 years, I mean, people were happy to get a solid meal in a day, a solid meal in a day. And I know people do, longer intermittent fasting for various reasons. And I think that can be a powerful tool. I come at it from the perspective of what is sustainable for somebody. Something that is going to be something they can step into. There's going to be, probably some adjustment period. But it's something that they can do over and over and over and over again and not get tired of it.
Yeah.
I mean, yeah, I think I first came upon all this. I must have been maybe 43 or so, and I'm 54 now. My weight does not shift.
Mm-hmm.
It's incredible. My weight does not shift. And it's so enjoyable. I love eating. And I love taking that break and having the energy to be that. So that's the kind of structure I want everybody to walk away with. It's like, whoa, it really can be that simple.
Yeah. And you say you love eating.
I do.
No, I do know that. Like,
yes,
I know. And I think it speaks to, I know I have sometimes people ask me, like, don't you just crave like a blizzard? I'm like, no,
I don't.
I actually don't. Like, and they're like, oh, you're just so blessed. I'm like, well, like, you change
Yes, you do.
your microbiome. Like, and I love to eat. I love to eat good food. And people are always like, where are you putting that away? And I'm like, I know. It just keeps coming in. And it's like, wait, you're so little. Do you always eat like this? I'm like, yep, I always eat like this. Whenever I eat.
You get after it.
But it's to the point, like, I love two things that you said. Sustainable. I think that is such a key thing in our world that people need to, like, that's what I go back to is like, what is sustainable for you? Because anything that is, you're playing with your body like it's a machine.
Right.
It is designed to be a machine.
Yes.
But it's designed to be an input-output energy. Like, they fuel your body.
That's right.
Like even back to your funky kitchen. Food is thy medicine. Hippocrates. Right. It's like, that's everything that we really need to know does come back. Maker's diet, like go back to the garden. Like it doesn't have to be complicated.
No,
there's maybe practices that feel complicated to us just because we've become so far removed from the process of what it looks like to cook food.
That's right.
And prepare food.
That's
right. But for somebody that is listening again, like they've heard a lot, like, oh my gosh, okay, so I want to have structure to my day.
Mm-hmm.
I'm going to eat 3 meals and not snack.
Yes.
I'm going to simplify the process. Like we hear a lot about clean eating, and especially like if people are eating, like the reality of somebody has to grab something, or they're looking at packaged food, less than 3 to 5 ingredients. They're like, what are some ways that you can kind of coach maybe a woman that's like just feeling, I want to start somewhere, but I don't know where.
Right. I would just say this. In the structure of each meal, consider that you're going to have a protein. And a protein. It's going to be different than the 2 other proteins that you're going to have in the day so that you're getting a nice complement of amino acids for your body to work with.
Okay. So just one protein, because I know not mixing proteins. That's like the potluck gut lunk.
Yeah, it totally is.
No
it's
potluck.
Just rough. It's hard. We want simplicity.
Yeah.
There's really a lot to be said for having nutrient dense, but not too complex of a meal. Mm-hmm. Yeah, exactly. Cafeteria type, like Sizzler sort of thing. No, just say no. So yes, one protein. And it would be wonderful if there are, 1 to 3 vegetables. And so like one of my favorite meals is, just a salad. Then, and in the wintertime, because of my body type, I'm not a person who runs real hot. I run that, if it is a salad, I run it under hot water to warm that lettuce up or set it out at room temperature. And just let it get to room temperature. So I'm not eating something so cold in the winter. And actually, I like that at any time of the year. I just don't really like cold food because internally, that's who I am. I'm just not that cold of a person. Or hot of a person, I should say.
You're right. You're not that cold. You're just a warm, loving.
I'm more, exactly. Give me more sun. Yeah. And so there's protein. 1 to 3 veggies would be tremendous. So again, in the wintertime, maybe steam them, maybe saute them, or at the very least, just room temperature. And we want some fat there. And I am a really big fan of most people having grass-fed butter. And I consider the things I eat just a vehicle to get more of that into my mouth. And so
I will never forget that because I use it all the time because my kids are like, Mom, I think you might have got through a whole stick of butter. I'm like, yup, give me some more bread for that butter.
My parents were visiting this last week, and my dad actually scraped some off of the sourdough toast I gave him. I said, "Oh, you give me that." Took it right off his plate. He said, "I love butter, but not that much."
Okay, so for the person who's listening who's like, no, I thought butter was bad.
Right.
Can you just real quick, give the just quick explanation of why butter's so good?
One of the things that I will say about butter, first off, I think most people are really happy when you tell them, I need you to eat more grass-fed butter.
They're like, yes.
Yes.
Buddy.
Yeah, exactly. Somehow you just spoke the quiet language. It's so good. And so that, I think, is an important consideration, right? But just from the nutrient profile of it, it is rich in a compound called butyric acid. And butyric acid is an incredible nutrient for the gut microbiome and creation of healthy neurotransmitters in our brain. And so we just want to bring in good information. And grass-fed butter is also rich in conjugated linoleic acid, which is very important for helping with body composition. And so it is something that helps with even helping to trim down.
Yeah.
I mean, yay, right?
It seems so counterintuitive
Of how we've been raised.
Totally. We've been raised. But we know that some of that big pharma, big money industry had a purpose.
It sure did.
Yeah.
It sure did. And so we're bucking the trend. And we're just letting the results speak for themselves. When you see people who eat food like that and you're like, but you're so trim, it's like, yes, because I eat like that. That's part of why. Yeah. And so just let it speak for itself.
Yeah.
So butter is awesome. At home, I will also saute, veggies or eggs or whatever. I'll use tallow, which is beef fat. I'll use lard. Goose fat, duck fat. So those are all different kinds of fats that have a higher smoke point and they can handle the heat. So we've got our 1 protein, 1 to 3 veg. We have a healthy fat. If you are making a salad, that could be, just some awesome olive oil. And, then you could use a little bit of an acid, like a nice vinegar or lemon juice or something, and make your own dressings. Really important.
Please.
Yes, please do that. And then at the end of the meal, you could have a piece of fruit. Or if you feel like, I want to have some chocolate or something like that, just have it be at the end of the meal. Don't eat a lot, have a couple squares. It's amazing how that satisfies that desire that people, I remember being a teenager and like dieting, and I wanted so many things and it felt so awful to not have them. And in a denial, right? And so then that makes you want it more. And so it's like, no, just get some organic chocolate if that's your thing and have a square or 2 at the end of your meal. Don't have it at 3 p.m. on its own. Do not do that. Because then, just as you said, Kelsey, you are re-engaging everything related to the digestive process, which engages our cardiovascular, our immune function, all of the enzymes, just as you say, and you're clogging up the canal system again. The body is saying, hey, I have this bolus of food. I'm working on it. We're over here. This is where the energy is happening. And then, you go and trickle something else down in there and it just jacks up the whole system. So we just want clarity.
Yeah. And I think too, that's what ends up happening with people. Then they're like, want the whole bag. Cause they're like, wait, I was really hoping that this would be that quote fix.
Right.
And then but the body's like, well, we want more of that. And then they end up eating the whole bag of chocolate.
Right.
Whereas if they had it at the end of the meal, your body's already satiated.
That's right.
The chocolate feels like it's almost just very grounding.
It is.
And then it's like, you're content.
You're good.
And you're good to go on.
Yes.
I think too, what you kind of brought up that I think is important, coming back to just a personal profile. When I did my epigenetic hair test, it came back, and I remember even before I had done this particular test with you, I was like, apples are not riding well with me. And I was like, okay, is this because I'm taking an apple as a snack? Right. Or is this because apples aren't good? Right. And then my hair test showed apples, my body was not, it took more out of my body to digest the apple than it was to serve my body.
That's right. And you knew that on some level.
Yeah. And then it was confirmed. But I'm a little bit more intuitive and aware of how things are going. Sure. But to that point, that thought brought this up. Two things. An apple a day keeps the doctor away. Right. And you're saying an apple after that good meal. Correct. Because of fiber, yes. Integrating fruit, because we haven't talked about fruit. Like what? Right. Where do we integrate fruit? Right. Is it always at the end of the meal? Mm-hmm. I know, like in breakfast, is it good to do fruit at breakfast time? Right. But we need a protein at breakfast. Like, right. So we're now bringing fruit in your picture.
Well, I think we also have to look at each person again.
Yeah. And, that's why I was saying with me, the apple was like, it was a no-go. Yeah. And that's why
That's right. And for that time, there's another season that's coming where it might just be perfect, So I think that's part of it, When you've been a health and nutrition geek like I have been, I think oftentimes people like me, we start off really intense and we can be very black and white about things. Mm-hmm. And, you get a few decades into it and you recognize that life isn't black and white that way. Yeah. Like you were just in different seasons. But that being said, you take someone who's a body type like my husband versus a body type like me, I do much better on more fruit, carbohydrate diet. And I'm not talking Entenmann's. I'm talking, just sourdough bread or oatmeal or something like that. I handle that much better than my husband does, who really could be a carnivore type. So he really thrives on higher protein, higher fat. And so we have to take that into consideration. And I like when it comes to fruit, eating seasonally. Mm-hmm. This house that we have now has 2 incredible pomegranate trees that Beautiful. Just are awesome. And it feels so right to eat pomegranates right now. We're filming right now in the fall. It feels like the perfect right time to eat these pomegranates. Mm-hmm. Right now, it wouldn't feel right to me to have a watermelon. Totally. And, it's too cold. Yeah. It's too cold, too watery. Yeah. And, these are these tight little nuggets of energy in the pomegranate, which are appropriate because in the fall, we're no different in many respects energetically than like the trees. The trees in the summertime, those leaves are out there. The photosynthesis is happening. Chlorophyll is rich and moving. Mm-hmm. As we move into the fall, the energy that has been out there, it comes right back to the root. Mm-hmm. Same thing happens with us.
So good.
So we have got to consider where our season is too. And so when it comes to fruit, I am a fan of generally don't eat more than one fruit at a meal. And again, try and make it a different fruit. So you're again getting different polyphenols, antioxidants, vitamins, water throughout the day based upon what you've consumed. So that is kind of how I do approach fruit. And yes, for most people, the pectins, going back again to the toxicants in our environment, the pectins that are so rich in apples are such a huge boon for helping the liver, the body to relieve itself of the burden of the toxins in our environment.
Right.
It's huge. Yeah. It's huge. Like when I do the epigenetic scans for people, and I do this because it's a hair scan.
Right.
But when I do these scans, well, what is that? When I do these scans, what it is I can see if chemicals and hydrocarbons are, a very high epigenetic strain for that person for that period of time. And the first food that is recommended to help relieve that burden from the body is pectin-rich foods. And apples are the best.
Yeah. Interesting. So a few thoughts that kind of circulated around body type. Now, blood type is kind of, do you kind of put those together? Or because I know like the blood type diet, I really see valid in that. And like in my own husband's life, and I know that he would be fine with me sharing this. And you watched me through my autoimmune disease like 12 years ago really hit crash bottom where my liver was like, it was done.
It was rough.
And at that point, like the paleo was so big and it was kind of like, this is the cure all, save all for all.
That's right.
And then like for me, it like literally actually exacerbated like my symptoms and made it worse.
That's right.
And then like literally 10 years later, I'm watching my husband walk
I'm like, this is exactly what I walked through. And he had all the inflammation, all the liver, like the liver just got totally stuck, which is a sign of emotional, which we haven't really talked about, but like the whole emotional burden, the physical burden, the stress burden of like the whatever, life, but also food.
Yep.
And for him, he was always like, and so many of his mentors were like carnivore. The boys are like, like, Dad, you just need more meat. So here he was, and he was guiding in Mexico for like a 30-day stint, and all he had was meat. And he came back, and I was like, you're like a walking dead person. Like I say that like
Wow.
in the most like kind way I can, but I mean, he was miserable. Scratch, like so much like so much. Goes to the ER. Oh yeah, you just have orbital cellulitis. I'm like, hey honey, I'm just gonna let you know, I know I'm not your doctor, but you don't have orbital cellulitis. I can tell you have inflammation of your eye. Yeah.
Mm-hmm.
Good one, dog. But anyways, no harm, no shame done. But to the point, I'm like, okay, honey, please just listen to me. Like, I know you think meat is the answer, but for you right now, it's not. For you right now.
Right
now. So we did a whole like doctor and the medical media, and like we did celery. He like reset.
Thank God.
Like now he's like, I just know if I get close to that meat, like it doesn't serve me. We went to go back to his blood panel. Sure enough, like, his blood type shows that he shouldn't be eating that way. Like his enzymes, all these things. So it's so important, even to the person who's listening, that you really understand yourself. You understand, like, okay, let's just get some starting blocks. Like, know your blood type.
Yeah.
Know your body type. Know your ancestry.
Yes.
Like speaking to Finnish people, Swedish people, like the Finnish people and the Swedish people, like they love butter and all that good nuts, and that's so good for them.
That's right.
Right?
Yep.
Like, so it's so important to take some of these pillars and really go with information.
That's right.
Yeah.
I totally agree.
Yeah.
And to your point, I guess, do I, make everything in my life around the blood type diet? No, I don't, but I ask. And it's always in my mind. So I know, think about a patient, or someone just talk to me. You know your blood type? I'm kind of interested because you feel like you do really well when you eat X, Y, or Z. Tell me what your blood type is. And, it's just this little catalog, and I just keep it as part of how I consider what's going on with them. But to your point also, Kelsey, about looking at your ancestral makeup, right? It's such a big thing. And for over a decade, I've been a chapter leader for an organization called the Weston A. Price Foundation.
Right.
And that is something I really encourage listeners to go to westonaprice.org, WESTON, aprice.org, and check it out. Because Dr. Price, man, what he saw in looking at people who had eaten the way that their people had eaten versus the same people, same community, but bringing in the modern foods of commerce, which at that time when Dr. Price was doing his research, that was at the commissaries, and that was things like refined flour, white sugar, tinned meats, vegetable oils, jams and jellies, things like that. So those were the foods that would have been available at the commissary of these different areas. And what he saw happen within one generation on people in terms of their bony structure, the health they had relative to having babies, their mood, their affect, and then, of course, their health in general, their dental health. He was a dentist. All of these pieces are incredible. And you can get his book, Nutrition and Physical Degeneration. You can order it. And it has so many photographs that are so illuminating of the impact of what these modern foods do to the human structure.
Now,
and, as he traveled the world and on his own dime and looked at all of this information, what was appropriate for the gut microbiome and the constitutional type of, say, an Inuit and what they ate traditionally was very different than maybe someone who would have, an Australian Aborigine. Right. It was right for them in, Australia, but it wouldn't necessarily be the right thing for the person up in Alaska.
Mm-hmm.
And so that was part of the beauty of looking at season, the overarching body type. And eating what the microbiome has become attuned to,
Right.
of what's available.
Yeah.
And the thing that cracks me up about it is that now, if we were to take those modern foods of commerce that I mentioned, that would be, people would say, well, that's like you're just making foods from scratch. You got your flour, your vegetable oil, your sugar, you top it with a little jelly. No, that was the beginning of the destruction.
Wow.
It's incredible. And now we would consider that like, oh, you're just making foods from scratch. That shows you, when people say, well, I just eat these organic, whatever. And you look and it's like, but that's got like 40 ingredients.
Yeah.
How many of you have these things in your cabinet? You don't.
Yeah.
You don't. So if it's not naturally occurring in your cabinet, then you probably don't want to eat it out of the box or the can or the frozen packaging.
Yeah, that's so true. And I love when people are like, well, I bought it from Whole Foods, so it might be healthy. I was like, wait, no. What? Okay. But so let's talk. We're getting ready to kind of wrap this. Yes.
Yeah.
But let's talk about coming back to the woman in her 40s.
Yeah.
You're in your 50s. I'm in my late 40s. They're kind of around the same area.
Yeah.
Things are shifting.
Again.
Life is shifting.
Again.
Children are moving out of the house. Like there's so many things that are shifting.
Yeah.
Physically shifting.
Mm-hmm.
We have hormonal things, how much that plays into the picture, the diet thing. But we're going to talk a little bit about movement.
Oh, yay.
And because I love this. And I go back to the sustainability conversation here too, because when I work with, I have men and women in there. I would say my highest clientele is 80s and 90s, and they're like just killing it life. And I'm like, they're just thriving. And they always say to me, I wish I would have found Pilates earlier. I wish I would have done this earlier.
Yes.
But to the point where I've also had people come from, and I'm not downplaying it in the sense that I'm not trying to degrade, but like this kind of Orange Theory or CrossFit, where it's just like this heavy load.
Yes.
But where I think we're in this place in our society, people are stressed. Mm-hmm. The nervous system is hacked and jacked.
Totally.
And then they go to the gym and they're still running from the predator.
That's right.
And they're hoping that because they're running on the treadmill, that they're going to lose weight. But from a hormonal, holistic, integrative system, even if, I have people like, well, when you're in your 40s and I see people with these heavy weighted vests and I'm like, oof. No, and this is somebody's great idea to make another product. And they like, because I'm menopausal, I need to have this heavy weighted vest. But like I'm watching and their shoulders are dropping further away from their neck and their head's coming forward. They're totally changing the postural structure of their body. The body's feeling stressed. When the body feels stressed, it holds on to weight. It's crazy. And so there's so much more that people like don't know how to integrate fitness and nutrition.
That's right.
And into this holistic idea of what does my body need?
That's right.
Because if we can calm the nervous system, if we can give nurturing food, your body's not going to hold on to weight.
No, it won't.
You're going to actually thrive.
Yes.
You're going to get lighter. You're going to, it just totally transforms from the inside out.
Yes. It does. It's incredible, but it requires that quietude. And this is the thing. We have been raised in a culture that does not reward that. Hurry up and look busy is the name of the game.
Mm-hmm. And in order for it to be good, it has to be hard. And that's not true.
No, and that is so not true. Mm-hmm. One of the simplest things that I share with my patients, especially those that aren't exercising currently, is please just put on some shoes and go take a 10-minute walk outside.
Yes.
That's all I'm asking. And in Chinese medicine, what you're doing is you are moving the qi. You're moving the qi, but in a gentle way. I'm not saying go do a wind sprint.
Yeah.
I'm saying just throw on some tinnies. It's sustainable. It's a kind thing to do. It does not cost hundreds of dollars.
Yeah.
You have to walk anyway. I mean, really. I mean, we've got to walk places, right? So it's something that is attainable unless there's a severe injury, something like that. And sometimes if someone is so ill, even a 10-minute walk is too much. And so I honor that. And there are times when even that is too much to ask. So that's okay. I'm just putting that out there. However, on balance, yes, getting out and having some time, again, with sun exposure, taking a walk, it moves your qi. So the frustration, this buildup that we get of just energy, not moving, there's nothing like just walking and getting fresh air to help you relieve yourself of that stagnation. It's such a good thing to do. And then, yes, stretching too. Stretching is huge. As we get older, we have this tendency to be more sedentary. Our cells become a little tighter. All the tissue, all of it gets a little bit tighter. And the only way muscles work is on contraction. Well, if they're already this tight, you're not going to get much power out of that. And so daily stretching is such an important thing. And also, of course, for the tendons and ligaments, the fascia of the body. So yes, the movement is so, so important. And then yes, like with Pilates, where Pilates I love because you're moving these lines of the body and you're working with the breath at the same time.
Yeah.
It's so wonderful. You create these long lines with strength within it.
Strength and length. Yeah.
It is.
I always say if you're so strong you can't use it, like you can't move it, you ain't using it.
That's right.
Let's get back to just functional. Like if you're so strong, and you're like, dang, I look good. But if you can't move it, it's not what's why? No, if you can't move it, you ain't using it. But to that point, so coming back just to kind of bring this full picture, I love that we're in alignment with this because I would definitely think that we would be, but with the sense of the hormonal woman who's saying, well, I need to have lean body mass and is there a nutritional or a supplement that you're helping? Because yes, move with be walking, doing Pilates, and everybody's but I need to do weight training. I need to do impact. I need to do hard. And I don't know. I vacillate with this because I'm well, no, actually you could I don't do anything other than Pilates and walk.
Right.
It works.
It works.
I promise it works. You don't need anything more.
Right.
And there's balance and you're maintaining. But is there any other food or supplements for the, and again, this is individual.
Yes.
But have you found anything that's really an NAC or glutathione or something for the woman who's going into menopause or hormonal?
I think black cohosh, which is
we'll put that in our notes.
Yeah, black cohosh. That is one that a lot of women have good results with if they're having hot flashes. Again, this is a generalization.
Yes. I'm not a doctor. You are.
Yeah, but I'm not working with each person individually.
I'm not giving prescriptions yet.
No, we're not. So that is one to consider. Dongui is another one. DANG, GUI. They're both Chinese herbs. Those are two. But, when you're working with someone with a Chinese herbal formula, it's a formula. They are not given usually as singles.
Spot treatment.
Correct. And so those would be two if women are, struggling with this sort of thing that I would suggest. The diet part of it. If they're not keeping this structure and nourishing, things are going to be a lot harder. They just are going to be harder. So that to me is as important really as anything. Yeah, it really is. Wine or other, alcoholic beverages, they really are harder to work with as we get older. They are tough on the liver because the liver's working with a lot. hormonally. And
the rain barrel's getting kind of full.
Yeah, the rain barrel's getting full. Well said. Exactly. And you just add this, and it is a poison, right? Alcohol is a poison. That's why the liver acts on it to clear it from the system. So really pulling back from drinking. And, if a person does want to have a drink, it needs to be in that hour of when they have their dinner. Nothing more than that. Not at this age and beyond. It's very important because that will interrupt your sleep, and it just causes a flare of energy. It's just rough, and so that is another really big part. But yes, supporting the glutathione production in the body, which is the glutathione is the most potent antioxidant we know about. It's created by the liver. And there are things that get in the way of it, like we just had this Tylenol discussion, and it is the impact on glutathione that is so problematic with the Tylenol, the acetaminophen. And so, that's been in the news these last few weeks. And so, whatever we can do to support, because what glutathione does is it's like it takes the trash out for us from the liver. And so if that is being impeded, it's like not taking out the trash in your house. You don't want to do that. So we really want to support that as well.
That's good.
Yeah. And as you said, I think you mentioned NAC, N-acetylcysteine, which is an amino acid. That is one of the precursor nutrients that helps to support this glutathione production.
Yeah. I kind of I take it every day, but I kind of think of it as like a quote multivitamin.
Sure.
Meaning like it's almost like a one a day kind of thing.
Yeah.
It's just a good buffer for like everything that's going on.
Sure. And you can also look at the foods where cysteine is found.
Okay, give us an example.
Well, that's one of the things I like about working with the epigenetic hair scan, because it gives us those foods, so because this is the thing, maybe right now you don't need cysteine.
Sure.
And we don't know that. And you could be giving yourself something that you're quite adequate on, and quite honestly, maybe it's something that's making other things not work quite so well just because of that. Because the body is like, no, I am good. I'm good. And actually now this is beginning to get a little bit in the way.
Because we're looking for homeostasis and the support. Like the body's always wanting to do that. And I think it's good for our listeners to know, like your body always wants to heal. Your body wants
always
to heal.
Oh my gosh. And again, I'll say it one more time. We haven't said it in a few minutes. Really important to watch your thoughts and how you're reacting to things. Because you will get a healing crisis if you let things get too out of hand emotionally for you. That is huge. And that's a whole other conversation based upon German medicine.
Yeah, we need to have like a doctor's in corner with you, Sarica. But for our listener, because we brought it to the table many times with the hair testing. So if somebody's listening, and they're like, I want to work with you, Sarica.
Sure.
And they reach out to you, what's the possibility of getting a epigenetic hair scan for them?
It's wonderful. We can do mailing kits. Well, yeah, lovely. And then get mailed to the person. They do their hair sample, get it right back into the kit, which is just pulling, 3 or 4 hair follicles from the back of the head, put it right into the kit on a Monday when there's not bad weather or holidays. And they put that kit into the mail. It goes to Illinois. The scan is performed on it, and I get the report, and then I do an audio file for the client. So not a problem.
That's so awesome. So
it's easy.
It's amazing because you don't have to be in Arizona with us.
No.
Like you have the ability to spread your tentacles and really support people that are looking for, which I would say everybody needs to work with you at some point in their life. I mean, I've sent my kids to you. I'm like, go get your hair tested. They're like, well, my mom says, like, no. A lot of times, no. They show up on their free will.
They are wonderful.
They totally do. But I'm just saying, like, this is not like you have to be 40 to work with Sarica. Like, I like send your kids.
Yes,
like, you need help. You need support. You're like, yes, babies. Like, it's so important. Babies have this whole what wonderful gift to, for a new mother to give their baby like a really solid. You're looking at everything in their genes that their body's saying we need, or we don't need.
That's right.
And you can have like this like personalized formula, as you said,
Right.
to really follow.
Yes.
So that you don't like, oh, I need to go take calcium. And then you realize like your calcium is like, cause then like, yeah. So there is this quote science
There is.
to this.
There is.
And you really do need somebody like, just like we need a coach, we need a doctor that really looks at the whole picture. And that's what I love about you specifically is like what you're saying. Look at your thoughts, Like we need more of you in the work in the health industry, whether it's natural medicine. Like I just always gravitate towards you because I don't like putting in toxic stuff to my body. So I was always like, what do I need to do? Nutrition, supplements, and like you take the whole gamut. You take so many pieces. So for our listeners, like you are in the most holy hands with God as you're kind of working through you. You are a vessel of God to administer healing to the people.
Thank you.
Yeah. In closing, and just to kind of bring this all back, I've heard Dr. Weston, but who and Maker's Diet have been mentors towards you, for you?
Yeah.
Did you start in this path, like when you got out of college or whatever, in this, like what mentors kind of forged and directed this path for you?
It was really a blessing in my life when I went to study acupuncture, because once I got into the schooling the way that I thought health was supposed to be, having left the natural foods industry, this was in the 90s, I thought that a certain way was like the right way. And I couldn't figure out why I was having such gut issues, and I was depressed and I had anxiety, all of these things. And it was coming to that school and recognizing, wow, I have really got to get off this vegetarian diet. And so actually just stepping into that different way of looking at health, which I feel that societally in the health spectrum, I feel like we're finally caught up to where I was 30 years ago in a lot of ways. Not because I was so fancy. Believe me, I came in there real green. But I just feel like the wisdom of it has made its way forth in a lot of ways. And thank God,
That's
right?
encouraging.
It's encouraging because, pendulum swings. And I like where I see a lot of things happening now. So it was actually just coming into that environment. And then, yes, my practitioner that I worked with in Japanese style acupuncture, William Casey Conover, and the practitioners from Japan that I was so fortunate to work with during that time, it was transformative. I felt like someone had given me back my language that I didn't know was missing. And the thing I love about Chinese medicine and the Japanese approach, using that as a baseline, is simply that what you have is something that is just so common sense. If something is stuck, you need to move it. If it's cold, you need to warm it up. It's that sort of thing. And it just felt so perfect to me. So I that always infuses the way I look at everything in life. And I just feel truly blessed to have found my path that way. And then, yes, bringing in the work of Dr. Price and being surrounded by people in the Weston A. Price community, even if it's just through email, brings me such joy.
Oh,
community. It's community.
Community is like minds.
Yeah,
which speaks a lot. I think it is important to have a community of like minds.
That's right.
Not that that's the only community, but it is definitely nurturing.
It
and
is
supportive.
It is.
Yeah. Has there been a book that really impacted you, or a book that you think would really impact our listeners today?
Yeah. So before I left Arizona to move back to California to begin my master's degree in Chinese medicine, I read a book called The Web That Has No Weaver. And it's written by a man named Ted Kapchak. And if what I'm saying here about the common sense nature of Chinese medical theory is something that speaks to your heart, that is a great book. That is a terrific book to read. Don't bother getting into the appendices where it starts getting a little more technical.
The Web That Has No Weaver.
The Web That Has No Weaver. It's fabulous. So that's a great one. And then, yes, anything that I found that has been related to epigenetics, the role of diet and lifestyle on our genetic expression. And so again, Nutrition and Physical Degeneration by Dr. Weston A. Price. In terms of dietary changes and recipes and that sort of thing, Sally Fallon's Nourishing Traditions is like the Bible that you lean on for that. And Sally is the president of the Weston A. Price Foundation. So that would be another, those two books right there are fabulous.
We'll include those in the show notes.
Great. Thank you.
Okay. And here's like the one question, right?
Yeah.
What do you want to be remembered for, Sarica?
Oh,
What is that? I heard one. Oh no. I'm like, I'll just hit it. Like, we'll hit a home run right here. What do you want to be remembered for?
It sounds ridiculous, but I do. I want to be, I just want to be remembered for being helpful. That's it. I want to just be helpful and honest.
That's so beautiful. Well, you've nailed it, but you got to stay here for at least another 50 years. At least till I make it to 100. Okay. No, we're just kidding.
Hey, that works for me.
Yeah. Okay. That's the deal. Sign here. Is there anything else that like you came and you're like, I really want to have the opportunity to share this. I think this would really make a difference. I want to really, like, you have a microphone, like the stage is yours.
Oh, thank you. I think the thing that is to check in with yourself and really be honest with yourself about what brings you joy. You know, and joy isn't an ecstatic. I can be ecstatic. It can be, all giggles. Exactly. But the thing that makes you feel at peace, at home, nourished on that spiritual plane. And that is, again, it gets into our relationships too, but also place. We have a new home that has a lot of grass around it. And I have so much joy just walking barefoot out and just being in that yard.
That's so beautiful.
It's so simple. And to see the goats that live down the street and the turkeys and these sorts of things. And that's nothing fancy. I don't want that. We go through different phases, chapters in our lives where we think those are the things that we maybe because, life tells us those are the things we need. So really be honest with yourself about what it is that kindles that sense of home within you and nurture that.
I love that. And I think that's so empowering to leave our guests with, because I think too, it speaks to the point that kind of the dying regrets of the older is that like you come to the end of your life and feeling like you didn't live authentic or aligned with yourself. So if and you take the time to really come to that place of like, this gives me joy.
Yes.
And then not doing it, like you're actually like robbing yourself of this beautiful life.
That's right.
But you do have the power to make shifts. Like you had a beautiful, like from the outside looking in, that's why nobody can tell you like, oh, I don't understand, like why or whatever. Because I think what ends up happening a lot of times is like, we see somebody's life and they look so happy. You're like, okay, that's it. I'm going to do that because they look happy. Right. But like, and coming in Flagstaff, you had a beautiful home and you're like, yeah, all this is beautiful. It's not that I wasn't, but what gave me really joy is I needed green grass in my life right now to get grounded. And I need to see animals when I look out the window and I need sunshine.
Yes.
And like, when you know what you need, like go chase it.
That's it. Even if it doesn't make sense on paper.
Even if it doesn't make sense to everybody else. And it's like,
right.
Yeah, I always say like, your dream might be my nightmare. My dream might be your nightmare.
That's right.
But live your own dream.
Live your own.
Yeah. Yes. That's beautiful. Well, thank you so much. I never want to say goodbye to you. So toodles, as you say. Until next time, Sarica.
Thank you, Kelsey.
So and hopefully next time I see you, I could be you could be telling me where I'm at. But
we'll have some needles.
Yeah, I will. For our guests that are listening, we're gonna give them all the little show notes and tools and how to find you and how to work with you and let's heal the world.
Let's do it.
Amen. As I expected, what a deeply nourishing and encouraging, really, conversation with Dr. Sarica Cernohous. I love how she brings such clarity
to the connection between ancient wisdom and modern wellness. And when I listen to our discussion, I'm reminded that we have so much more agency over our well-being than we realize. Now, if I could give you 3 actionable takeaways, it would be these. First, we are frequency beings before we are physical beings. So everything starts with energy. Our thoughts, our emotions, and our environment all play a crucial role in shaping our health. And reframing our thinking, as she said, is the first step to a healthier body. Second, individual treatment is so powerful. Just because a food or a fix was right for one person doesn't mean you have to follow precisely their path. Every body is unique. You've been blessed with this unique body, this story, this mind, and this spirit. So honor that by exploring what feels best to nourish you. And third, maybe it's time to try out more traditional food preparation techniques. Break out that sourdough starter or make some bone broth with last night's leftovers. Trust me, you're going to be amazed at how your energy shifts when you begin to see food as a way that you nourish your body more intentionally. Now, friends, I hope and I do trust and believe that this episode will inspire you to slow down, to really learn how to listen to your body and begin making small but powerful shifts that honor your health. Of course, if you've loved this conversation, please share it with a friend who might need a reminder, just like we do, that healing doesn't have to be complicated. If you want to work with Dr. Sarica Cernohous, you can learn more about her coaching and her techniques, including her Funky Kitchen book. We'll include all that information in our show notes. So until next time, go deep, grow strong, stand tall, live full, find balance, and nourish your body with good health.